I'm Colonel Dennis Leyendecker, Commander, Music Director, and Principal Conductor of the United States Air Force Band, Washington, D.C.
Kevin Kaiserschott, the writer of the Music Teachers March. I also teach in Aurora, Illinois at Simmons Middle School.
Well, we received Kevin's march actually within the last couple of days, and we were joined by a wonderful group of about 20 plus youngsters who came from all over the country to play with the United States Air Force Band. So with those youngsters, we debuted the Music Teachers March this evening, and I have to say that when we first read it together yesterday, for the very first time, it was an immediate hit, not only with the group, but with me. And I'm picky about marches. And I have a reputation with the group of taking a lot of time to pick programs, but particularly the marches. I'm really particular about the marches. So when I first studied the score and then heard it come to life, there were things that there are pieces of, if you will, there is energy behind the notes that I hope you heard us imply in a lot of it, because it falls so naturally. The melodic lines are so wonderful, and the architecture on all of the themes it just feels so natural, and it plays so wonderfully. It is a very good march. And I think MENC and music teachers across America can be very proud of it. And it's got a wonderfully catchy tune that I think over the long view, people will actually whistle as well.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. On watching you on the podium and then during the sound check and everything tonight with everything that you were doing, having been a teacher myself and a band director for 25 years, it was like you were reading my mind with everything that you were doing. No, let's cut this back. Let's allow the woodwinds to come forth on this section, which is exactly the way I would have done that. Mm-hmm. As okay, we've heard the theme the first time in that trio section. We don't need to hear it quite as loud because we have this counter line going on here, and I'd like to hear this a little bit more. Exactly. That's exactly mm-hmm. the way I would do that.
But I still asked your permission.
And I think I said for the back, yeah, you read my mind with that. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. No, outstanding performance. I'm so happy to hear you being particular about marches. I myself am on record as being, a proponent of marches and don't feel they're being given their due here lately, by lots of groups, mm-hmm. And basically in some cases are being relegated to, we'll let the second band do this, mm-hmm. or the underling band, and some of the top groups never get to play those, which is unfortunate, but I love marches.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a very close friend of mine from the Air Force, now retired Lieutenant Colonel Carl Philip Chevillard. I don't know if you know Chevy or not, but Chevy has written a wonderful book on the use of marches in music education. And I believe, if I recall right, it's published by Belwin Mills. A wonderful book about the importance of marches and how they can be used to teach students phrasing and on and on. It's a terrific book. And one of the things that I think sometimes may be lost on some folks, because we get this almost, if you will, biblical kind of approach to scores at times, is that when you actually work with composers, living composers, as we've been privileged to do for many years with commissioning and so forth, it is consistent in my experience that if you're trying to look for clarity, which we were doing this evening, and trying, right. First of all, the first pass through in the last strain, we wanted to hear that, the wonderful woodwind right. Work that you were doing, and it was getting buried by the guys who were enthusiastic over here in the right. brass. It's perfectly all right to go and say, I know it's marked forte or mezzo forte in this particular case. Why don't you play it pianissimo this time through so we can no kidding let these guys play right. mezzo forte right. so we can hear them. So that the work with a score is, in my experience, consistently a give and take depending on the size of the group, but the key is to get to clarity so that the audience in the end has an opportunity to hear everything that's going on, because then when you do reprise, they can
Right.
still hear that wonderful woodwind line happening in the background. I find with a lot of folks that they're very reticent to take that leap and go, well, oh, I couldn't do that. It doesn't say that in the score. Well, yes, it does. The notes are screaming out for us
Right.
to do this.
You know, stylizing is everything, you know.
So go ahead and take the risk.
Sure.
And make sure that the music is clear. So I very much appreciated your support because I think that musicians who are leading groups, and not just leading groups, musicians who are actively performing need to constantly think about the composer's intent, but also to go beyond the notes and understand, I see what it says, but what did he mean?
Right.
And there's
Isn't there an old story that when Bernstein conducted Copland's rodeo, the Hoedown,
right.
Copland came up to him and he said, "You're playing it too fast."
And he said, it's not too fast.
It's not too fast.
Exactly. It's a
you need
wonderful
it right.
moment. It's a wonderful
You
moment.
needed it this fast. You're right. So no, absolutely. Love the way you stylized that. Love the way the group played it. Couldn't have asked for a better performance.
Well, I'm going to encourage the United States Air Force Band to go ahead and get that march recorded. I fear that I'm not going to be the one that's going to be able to get to do that, but my good colleague and friend, Lieutenant Colonel Alan Sirix, who's going to take over the command of the band here in a week or so, is a wonderful musician, and I'm sure that he'll do great work with it. So thank you for a wonderful march and the
Absolutely.
opportunity to premiere it this evening.
Well, I'm humbled by that, and I thank you as well as your group.